What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Snack Time. My name is Ben, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at a really cool project called Maildrop. So let's jump on into it. And here we go. We're going to start off at the GitHub page. And basically what this is, it's a self-hosted disposable email service. So if you've used any sort of email service like mail-temp.org, it's essentially providing the same thing. We could generate any email address that we want to, retrieve email on it temporarily, and then ignore it, and it'll go away, and we don't really have to worry about it anymore. Since it'd pretty much just be a fake email. Sometimes this is really good to use, especially if you're signing up for some sort of service, you don't really feel like giving out your real email, or if you just want to be sneaky. Let me show you this software. We do have some great information on the GitHub that we'll cover in here in a little bit, but I've already set it up on my server and I want to show you how it works. We can generate random emails. Check it out. Generate. We can also copy that email. There it is. It's on our clipboard. And we can also, this is really cool, we can use a custom one. So I'm going to be like, hey, Ben, Snacky. And there we go. We created Ben Snacky, and you can start using that email pretty much immediately. That's the really cool thing about this service. Another really cool thing is that if you use these accounts and you decide to come back later on, maybe you've refreshed the page. Let me show you. So let's refresh our page. It kind of regenerates it again. You can come back in here and type in the same email address. And if the container hasn't rebooted, you should be able to retrieve the email that was sent there, which is kind of cool. So I don't think any email actually bounces or anything. I think it just shows up, and there's a limit as far as how much email it can retrieve and everything, or how much it stores before it just kind of forgets about it. So you're kind of like fire and forget. You just like, here's a fake email. I got what I wanted, and now I'm never going to check it again. So let's do this. I want to show you what it looks like when we send an email. So I'm going to use my account. I'm going to do this, and let's do it from info, and hi. I'm just going to be, this is a test. All right, and once that sends, you can come back over here and we can hit our refresh. And yep, as soon as it makes its way through the internet, it should show up in our mailbox. Takes a couple of seconds, but there we go. It shows up in our email box. And this is a test. And there you go. We have our email. You can do this any number of times. You set the variables as far as how much email it stores, how big that storage is. There's no database, nothing crazy. Just I really just think it's just a JSON file. And it'll store it for as long or as little as you want. I think it's just really limited as far as space. And also, if you decide to set this container up on like a recreation kind of cycle, it will wipe that out, since we are not storing anything outside of the container. It's all being stored inside the container. And remember, if you're working with Docker, that means that is temporary storage unless you specify otherwise. There's nothing preventing you from creating a volume that will store all of the email outside of the container, so you have it pretty much indefinitely. Totally up to you. But this way you're able to control the email that's coming into you. You don't have to worry about, hey, is this temporary email service like harvesting my emails, using it for AI, reading it themselves, whatever. This is something self-hosted, and you control pretty much every aspect of the software. If you're kind of like me, where occasionally you just need to sign up for something and you don't want to give them your real email address. So are you ready for me to show you how to install it? I'm going to walk you through a couple of things. I'm going to walk you through setting up the container. I'm going to walk you through setting up your DNS servers, including your MX records, so you can actually get email into this thing. And then I'm going to show you how to configure it with Nginx Proxy Manager. We're going to be using that to control a lot of the flow of the traffic, including our port 25. And I'll show you that too. So let's go ahead and jump into the installation. I'll see you over there in just a second. All right, guys and gals, are you ready to get this installation train going? I know I am. Let's go ahead and jump in where we usually start, and that is on the GitHub page. So if we scroll down, we have some screenshots, cool beans. Let's head on down to the juicy parts. All right, so right here we have our Docker compose file, which is what we're going to be using. So only thing that we're going to need to do is pretty much just modify this. I do want to show you a couple things. At the very bottom, we do have some additional environment variables that we can specify if you so choose. I'm just going to go with the defaults for now. However, if you want to dive in and get a little bit more explanation as far as what these are, maybe even an example, you scroll all the way to the top of the page. If you click on the .env up here, there are some comments as far as what they should be if you decide to specify them. I'm not going to because it worked just fine out of the box. Really no need to change it, but it does have options. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and copy this guy right here for our Docker Compose and head on over to Portainer. All right, let's go to stacks and let's add a stack, and we're going to call this a Maildrop, and we're going to paste. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I like to break down what this thing is doing before we hit that run button. First off, we are starting with the services Maildrop. Sure, image we're pulling is the latest one. That's good. I like the latest tag. Container name is Maildrop. That's also kind of specified at the top, so not a big deal if this is there or not. Our restart policy is unless stopped, which means our server reboots. This thing's going to fire right back up automatically unless you stopped it beforehand. The ports are defaulted to be open to 5000 and 25. 5000 is for the web UI, 25 is for the email portion, the SMTP. But we are going to close both of these because I still want to run everything through Nginx Proxy Manager. By the way, if you do have any questions as far as, how I got to, Portainer installed or Nginx Proxy Manager or any of the other things, just look down in the description. There is a link to another video that I will help you walk through setting up your server. But we're going to assume that you have already done that. So with that in mind, I am going to say, you know what? Comment out ports, comment out this port and that port, because I'm going to run 25 also through Nginx Proxy Manager. So 5000 and 25 are going to go through there. For our domain, I am going to use the full synhow.com domain. A lot of my videos, I do subdomains, but in this instance, I'm going to assume you probably have a domain picked out and you don't want your email to be bob.something or another like that. But if you do, that's fine. Just use that there. Just create your, specify your subdomain right there. And that just tells the container, which domain it's going to be creating email addresses for. That is it. Not too much, right? Let's go ahead and deploy this, and we'll get to the configuration of our MX servers, our mail server, as well as DNS and our Nginx Proxy Manager settings. All right, so as soon as this gets done, we should get a happy little message up there. You'll notice one thing, I'm not specifying a volume. It's because I'm not retaining any email coming into this server. It's not meant to be an email server, really meant to be just a temporary mail server. All right, so now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and join our Nginx Proxy Manager server to that same network. So we're going to go into Nginx app. I'm going to put myself at the top here. I'm going to scroll down. And let's go ahead and drop this network down and find our Maildrop default, which was automatically created for us. And we're going to join that. If we scroll down again, see that we have joined it. We have gotten the next IP address in line. Now comes the fun part. We're going to be setting up our DNS server so that this thing can actually retrieve email. If you are not using Namecheap, that is okay. Just try to follow along as best you can. If you have questions, you're always welcome to leave them down in the comment section below. I'm going to go to Advanced DNS within Namecheap, and you get there by just clicking onto your domain and going to Advanced DNS. As long as Namecheap is your DNS server, then this is the steps that you will follow. If not, you can probably pick up what I'm setting up here and do the same thing on whatever DNS server you're running. First thing I want to do is to make sure that my host, which is the synhow.com, is pointing to the same IP address that the external IP address of my web server, or my virtual private server in this instance, my Docker server. And because I'm going to really need that. If you decided to use like a subdomain or something, then you would simply just say, you know what, I'm also going to create an A record for, I think I used the example of Bob, and I want to make sure that Bob resolves to that. And that's just if I'm decided to use a subdomain. Obviously, yours probably won't be Bob, but you know, replace Bob with whatever you want. All right, let's go ahead and cancel this. And next up, we need to configure our mail server. Namecheap makes this pretty easy. If you're not using Namecheap, we're just going to be setting up some MX records. I think you probably can also do the same thing through Namecheap. No, you can't. Okay, that's interesting. MX record isn't an option. With most other DNS providers, MX would be an option, and that's what we're going to be doing by coming down here where it says mail settings. And we're going to drop this down and create a custom MX record. So our custom MX record, we're going to zoom out here a little bit and scroll down. Our host is going to be the @ symbol. And what that means is we are going to be using the entire domain for this MX record. Again, if you're using a subdomain, then that would be your subdomain. So it would be Bob. But @ basically means just the domain itself. My mail server is going to be synhow.com. And I want to also do a priority of 0, 0 being the highest number of priority that I can do. And that's pretty much about it. So I want to explain this a little bit, just in case you're a little bit confused as far as what we're doing. I'm telling the internet that my mail exchange server, MX record, is synhow.com. And that's then the internet is going out and saying, oh, okay, cool, synhow.com. Well, where does that resolve to? What's the IP address? Because again, internet uses IP addresses, not so much names. It's not smart enough to know that snack time goes to this IP address without you specifically telling it. So it's kind of doing okay, cool, that's synhow.com. Let me go ahead and read the A record, which will give me the information as far as what IP address I need to route all this email. So it looks at synhow.com. Synhow looks at, or the DNS then looks at this record, which says synhow resolves to this IP address. Hopefully that was a good explanation and not didn't confuse you. But if it did, if you have further questions, I love talking about DNS, happy to help you with it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and save our changes. All right, so our mail settings were successfully changed after a couple of seconds of it just spinning and just staring at me. So we're all good here. We have our main A record set up. We have our MX record set up. And now we can move on to the next part, which is configuring Nginx Proxy Manager. So if we head over to our Nginx Proxy Manager, we're going to go ahead and go to Proxy Hosts. I'm going to add a host. And for the domain, I'm just going to use synhow.com. Because again, I did not use a subdomain. If you did use a subdomain, use that instead of your regular domain. All right, now it's asking, where do you want me to forward this lovely traffic to? Well, let's find out. If we go back to our Portainer and we go to containers, remember our container name was just called Maildrop. So that is the host name that we're going to use. We're going to drop this in here. We're going to make sure that we didn't copy any spaces. Looks like we did. That's okay. Make sure there are no spaces either in front of or behind our container name. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. And it's asking for our port. Well, I remember what it was, but in case you forgot and you want to look it up, we go back to our GitHub and we take a look at our ports right here. We had 5,000 for our web traffic, 25 for our ports. It's only asking for one of these, and we're going to use the 5,000 because that is what's actually going to get us to our web UI. So if you're wondering why there are two numbers here, two 5,000s, remember the one on the left is the port that it's opening up and listening to on the internet, and the port on the right is the port that the container expects to see the traffic. We're going to be using 5,000 simply because they're both 5,000. They won't always be like that. Not every container does that. The ports are exactly the same. So just in case they are different, you know what to look for. We're going to use the one on the right. So we do 5,000. We're going to block common exploits and enable WebSocket support. We're going to save our settings here. And once that's added, we need to go ahead and make sure our traffic is secured. Right now it's not, it's just running on HTTP. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the three dots, hit edit. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it. I'm going to hit SSL here. I'm going to request an SSL cert. I'm going to force it. And then I'm also going to agree to the terms of service from Let's Encrypt. We did everything right. And when that includes our DNS configurations, this should go away without any sort of incident. If you do get an error message, it could be that you had a typo. Also could be that maybe it needs to get a little bit more time for it to propagate. Give it a couple hours, try again, but hopefully yours will go away just like that. Good timing, right? All right, so we took care of the port 5000, but that still leaves 25 needing to be addressed, because if we don't do anything with that port 25, we're never going to receive our email. Let's go to this. Let's go to our dashboard. Let's go to our proxy host. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's go to streams. That's what we want. All right. And what we're going to do is we are going to create a stream. And a stream basically is just allowing us to create some port forwarding. All right. So let's go ahead and hit add stream. And it's asking for the incoming port number. Now remember, it was 25. Awesome. Now it's asking for the host name. You know, where are we going to be sending this traffic? We're going to be sending it to Maildrop. And again, we're going to use the same container name. That's how it's going to find the IP address that it needs. It's going to look at that name and then resolve it for us internally. And now it's asking, where do we want to forward the traffic to? What port is the container listening on? And we're going to be using 25, as if we went back to our little Docker compose file here, we see it's listing on 25. All right, so it is a TCP traffic. Let's go ahead and save this. All right, so before we celebrate and try out our new software, we are going to need to make a quick change to our Nginx Proxy Manager, and I'll show you why. We go back to our Portainer. And we go under our Nginx app here. We scroll down. We look very closely. We'll see that we have several ports that are listing for traffic. We have 443, 80, and 81. 443 is our secure traffic, 80 is unsecure, and 81 is the port that we use to configure Nginx Proxy Manager. But what you're missing here is port 25. So even though I set up a stream, if there's nothing listening for that traffic, it's not going to get to the Nginx Proxy Manager, because we just haven't opened up that port. It doesn't open up every port. That would be totally insecure. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's open up port 25 for Nginx Proxy Manager app so that it can forward that traffic from its 25 on over to our Maildrop. I just like routing all the ports through the same container. It just makes me feel better. And if I need to, I can always just shut it off. It's like, I don't have to worry about which container is listening on what ports. Let's go ahead and edit this. Let's scroll down and let's hit add additional port. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this. Hit add additional port. We're going to be specifying port 25. And we're going to be putting it on the container of 25 as well. So this is saying, hey, what ports do you want me to open up on the host, and at what port is the container expecting to see this traffic on? And since we opened up port 25 in our streams, that's how it's getting to the 25. I suppose in theory, you could probably make the stream whatever you wanted to if you wanted, but I mean, there's really not any reason to. All right, so we've created that. It's going to be TCP because that is the traffic type that SMTP uses. Let's go ahead and deploy this container. And replace. Now this is the only thing that we're modifying, so it shouldn't take very long for it to spin back up. But most likely you are going to be required to sign back in, because we have essentially rebooted the entire Nginx Proxy Manager container. So if we go back to that guy, let's refresh. Oh, cool. It kept my cookie. Nice. All right, and so that's open. Awesome. And let's go to our proxy hosts, and let's see if our traffic is passing. Let's click on sendhow.com. And there we go. We have our Maildrop all set up and ready to receive email. Oh, and check it out. One last thing. If you want to see how the email is being stored, I think you might find this to be a little interesting. If we jump back into our Portainer, we can go to our Maildrop here, and let's click on the little icon. If you look really close, you'll see where it says the execute exec console. We click on that guy and go ahead and hit connect. It'll drop us into our terminal. I'm just going to list the contents of the file. And if we zoom in, you see where it says inbox.json. So I'm going to type cat inbox.json. And so if we zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see, get a big picture. This is how it is storing all of the email that's coming into the server. Probably not something you want to use if someone is like self-hosting it and you don't exactly trust them, because they can, in theory, kind of see everything that you are sending. So it's not encrypted. So just keep that in the back of your head, that if you are self-hosting this for yourself, that's fine. If someone else is doing it for you, just know that that's a possibility. All right, guys. So what did you think? Did you like it? Is it something you think you might use? If so, let me know. And if you like this video, definitely consider giving me a thumbs up. If you didn't, you want to see something different, just let me know or give me a thumbs down. I'm fine with either one. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you next time.